Hi, everybody. This is a bonus video for the November air fryer roasted vegetables and polenta bites class. And in that class, I'm going to be, because I haven't taught it yet, of course. In that class, I'm going to be using polenta from a tube. But I talked to you about, hey, if you can't find a tube in any of the grocery stores near you, you can make your own on a tray. So I kind of thought, I could just show you how to make it. So that's what I'm going to do. If you can't find this, you got to make this ahead of time before you make the recipe. So here's how to make the polenta. You will need some polenta, otherwise known as coarse corn grits. You want the yellow kind, not the white kind. In addition to Bob's Red Mill, I have seen it in, I don't know. The other place I usually buy it is at the bulk section in my natural food co-op. So you'll need the coarse yellow corn grits. You will need salt and you will need water. Got 3 cups of water here. And I am putting it on my induction burner and boom, it's boiling already. This came out of my hot pot. So I'm following the recipe on the back of the Bob's Red Mill. Calls for 3 cups of water, a teaspoon of salt. And when they are coming to a boil, which is right now, hi, Robert Barker. Then you stir in a cup of your coarse yellow corn grits, AKA polenta. So I'm going to stir that in. And then we're going to let this cook for a good long while. About 30 minutes, because I want these the individual corn pieces, grains of ground corn to thicken up and get into like a very smooth paste, which takes a while. Up to 30 minutes. I guess I would put it that way. Up to 30 minutes. Could be 10 or 15. But you kind of want to just keep giving a stir. And I am going to change the temperature to make it a little lower because I don't want this to be boiling like crazy for 30 minutes. I want this to kind of be simmering for 30 minutes. And I see little lumps that came when I first poured it in, so I'm kind of crashing through the lumps a little bit. If you have a whisk, grabbing a whisk to stir this would be a good idea. So I'll do that. And switch over to whisk this. And I'm just gonna keep on whisking this until it's nice and smooth and I don't see individual grains. Like right now, boom, I've made quick grits. But I would rather make polenta. Show you a little bit this way. And as a matter of fact, I'll switch cameras and show you the other way while this is stirring. Other things you'll need to make this polenta, if you want. I mean, we could stop right here. We can stop right here and just pour it on the tray. But I want to make it a little bit more enriched, a little more fancy. A little more fancy. There you go. So other things you can add to this would be some mascarpone cheese. I have a tiny little container of mascarpone cheese. You can add Parmesan. You could add the green can of Parmesan or shredded Parmesan, or you could grab a wedge of Parmesan and work on that. Stir a little bit more. And I'm going to lower the there we go. One more heat. If you didn't want to make this on an an induction burner or on in the stovetop, you could make this in a pressure cooker. If you're going to make this in a pressure cooker, I would recommend using the pot in pot method. And that is where you've got water and a rack in the bottom of your pressure cooker. And then you've got something like a stainless steel bowl inside. I have a couple of stainless steel bowls. Take a little one. Something that will fit inside of your pressure cooker that would be heat safe and easy to clean. Oh, that's a good temperature. Okay, note to self. When cooking this on an induction burner again, drop the heat to 50%. So yeah, medium high heat, medium low heat on a stovetop, or 2.5 on an induction burner. So I'm going to stir this and until it is smooth, but let me show you what it looks like right now first. So right now, we are thick, but still you can see like the individual pieces of corn, and I want this to be a little smoother. So I'm going to keep cooking. So as you saw, it's thick, but you can still see the individual grains. So I'm going to keep it cooking I'm going to check it at 15 minutes and see how it's doing. And then we'll have a little conversation. Other things that you should have to make this polenta, to make your polenta cooking experience easier. In addition, if you want to plus it up with some mascarpone and or Parmesan cheeses, you need a pan to spread the polenta out, because we're going to cook it and then spread it out in a pan, chill it, and that's what you can use to cut. You could use an 8x8 pan if you want. I happen to have a quarter size sheet tray, so I'm going to use that. What you're looking for is something that will fit into your fridge. So you don't want a giant tray unless you happen to have a walk-in refrigerator in your kitchen. If you do, you do you. But like an 8x8 pan, or for me, I'm going to spread this out kind of flat and smooth. I'm also going to spray the heck out of this with an oil spray, because it will kind of want to stick, and I want to make sure that it lifts up to make nice little squares. So I'm going to spray the heck out of this. You could use some parchment paper if you wanted to. Parchment paper, probably not wax paper, because this is going to be pretty hot when I put it on the tray. But have a sprayed sheet pan. Give this another stir. It's been about 25 minutes, and I'll switch the camera so you can see that. So before, you could still see the individual grains of corn, pieces of corn. This, they've melded together. It's very smooth. They've swollen up, they've melded together. It's very smooth. So for this, I'm gonna, just to plus it up, I'm gonna stir in a container of mascarpone cheese. This is, I think, 3-4 ounces. I would go with, it's probably about a half a cup of cheese. And I'm going to stir that in. As you can see, it's just going to melt right into this. Other cheeses you could use, you could be using a cup of shredded or grated Parmesan, I might just add that as well, but I think I won't. I'm going to stir this all in until it's fully melted and fully incorporated. And then I'm going to spread this on my prepared pan. Which I have to actually prepare. So you spray that with oil spray while the last of the cheese is melting and getting incorporated into the mixture. Now, if you leave out the cheese, you've got a dairy-free and vegan and potentially gluten-free. I don't know if these are gluten-free. I mean, this has corn, yes, but I don't know if it's manufactured in a place that also has. I don't know if they guarantee. But if you have corn grits that are not processed in a facility that also processes wheat products, then you got a vegan and gluten-free product. We have now made this a non-dairy free product by the addition of cheese. So if you're serving folks who don't eat dairy, don't put the cheese in. It's still going to firm up and give you the lovely space. All right, let me show you what it looks like now that everything is swirled in. Okay, so the cheese is fully melted and it's very smooth. I've sprayed my pan with an oil spray. So I'm going to spread this out. As smooth, as I can. Remember, you can do this in an 8x8 pan or 7x9 pan. Double the recipe, use it in a 9x13 pan, but I don't think you slide over there. Something smaller than a 9x13 for the equivalent of 1 cup of polenta grits and 3 cups of water. Plus, how much was this mascarpone? 3 ounces. Yeah, I would say about a half cup. Just making the edges as pretty and as smooth as I can. Not that it's going to matter. Once it's all chilled, you're going to have the little rough edges like with cookie dough. There's going to be edge scraps, and that's just for the cook to snack on later. Okay. Now I have a tray of polenta. I'm going to let this cool down, put it in the refrigerator to chill. You should do it for at least 2 hours. I'm going to put it overnight just because. And then you can cut this out into the shapes you want: squares, triangles, circles. You could be using, when you're doing this, when you're cutting that out, you could use circular cutters, square cutters, whatever kind of cookie cutter, like for biscuits, you might be using. I don't know that I would get all fancy with like a star shape or something, only because I don't know how well that would cook. That could be a little dicey with cooking. But we took 1 cup of these coarse yellow corn grits, aka polenta, and 3 cups of water and a teaspoon of sugar. Salt. Strike that, reverse it. Salt. Brought the water to a boil, whisked in the polenta, and cooked it for about 25 minutes until the coarse individual grains swelled up, became a nice uniform mass. And then I stirred in, just for grins and giggles, I stirred in about a half a cup of mascarpone cheese. You could be doing a cup of Parmesan. You could be doing a cup of shredded Parmesan, whatever you want, or just leave it as it is. And now I'm going to chill it for at least 2 hours up to overnight. And that is how you get the equivalent of this tube. This same thing, although this has cheese in it and it's a little fancier. But it's all it is. The coarse yellow corn grits that have been cooked long enough so they swelled, gotten smooth, and then they've chilled so it becomes a little cuttable, sliceable, holdable, bite-sized piece. I'd be closer to the thing, but there's a three-legged basset hound right down here trying to horn in on my territory. If you have any questions, look at the bottom of your handout and fire away. Thanks.